say at the first instance, looking forward to today's European Political Community meeting, where I co-chair a roundtable with the Icelandic Prime Minister in respect of economic security, focusing in on the necessity of security of goods supply chains in respect to the future of the economy. Yesterday we had a very serious discussion in terms of the threat that Russia is now posing to the European Union and to European Union member states, and particularly in terms of the violation of the airspace of quite a number of European member states. As people say, a clear pattern is emerging. If you take everything that has happened over the last number of weeks and months in terms of drone incursions, in terms of maritime activity around cables and that, in terms of the undermining of political and politics in various member states, there was a very serious sense of that threat. And it seems to me that there's a degree of naivety back in Ireland in respect of that. Certainly the member states on the Eastern European side, the Baltic states in particular, feel this threat and feel it's existential. Apart from that, obviously, I'm receiving briefings in terms of the interception of the Gaza flotilla. Our ambassador is in touch with the Israeli authorities, and we will be providing consular assistance to those who have been detained. It's important that they're treated properly. It's a humanitarian mission. No threat to anybody other than to highlight and also to bring humanitarian aid into the people of Gaza. And it underlines the absolute imperative of getting humanitarian aid into Gaza as quickly as possible under the auspices of the United Nations and the Red Crescent, as outlined in the peace proposals that emanated from the United States in consultation with the Arab states.
Is it a breach of international maritime law in your view?
If it happened in international waters, yes. And also, again, the treatment of those on the flotilla is very important, that that they're treated appropriately and properly. They don't pose a threat to anybody.
Do you think the flotilla should turn back at this stage, or at least comply with Israel's instructions?
Well, I think obviously we have a point of contact with the flotilla. The Department of Foreign Affairs has, and we've been making the point consistently that these are areas where people should not visit because of the obvious dangers. And I think the paramount consideration has to be the safety of all those on the flotilla.
The Irish Times has a story today looking at medics and doctors, who've been sanctioned in one country and then you come to Ireland or vice versa. That obviously raises serious kind of patient safety and trust issues with the system. What's your proposal to kind of tackle that? And then separately on the budget, you've been making the case, and the government has been making the case that the one-off measures are stopping it. Do you think people will get that on the day?
Well, in terms of the medical issue, I think the Medical Council has a clear responsibility here, and that systems have to be very robust and resilient in respect of tracking what's happening in other countries, particularly in the United Kingdom or in European Union member states, or anywhere for that matter. There has to be very robust and resilient mechanisms in place before someone is put on the register here and before somebody is allowed to practice in Ireland. And I certainly would have concerns arising from this morning's article in the Irish Times. In relation to the budget, again, we do need to get on a pathway of sustainable budgets. There will be significant increases again in public expenditure this year. We've already outlined unprecedented investment in capital and in infrastructure projects, which is vital in terms of water, utility, in terms of energy, the grid, in terms of public transport, rail and roads, and in aspects of health, particularly digital health. So there's huge investment going in, and will be. But yes, we are pivoting more towards capital investment because that is necessary because of the increase in our population and also the necessity to catch up infrastructural-wise in the country. That said, current expenditure will grow, but we are endeavouring to create a sustainable pathway in terms of public finances into the future. That is important also.
What do you think the Danish government...
These papers this morning, he accused of politicising the Defence Forces, proposing a photo with Defence Forces Chief Greg members of the force in video clapping him during a 10K run. Has he made a mistake? Does he keep making mistakes? Are you worried about that? And can I also ask you about a story last evening that suggested that Catherine Conley attempted to hire someone who had just got out of jail for a gun offence conviction?
I think that latter one is very serious in terms of someone who, it apparently, from the journal article, had served 4.5 years in prison for possession of firearms, and also a member of an organisation that did everything to undermine the Irish peace process. That would indicate a very serious lack of judgment. And I think Catherine Conley needs to clarify that in its entirety and be fully transparent in respect of it. But it is a very, very serious issue as far as I'm concerned, and I think most people would be, given the circumstances as reported by the journal yesterday. That was, in terms of the photograph, I mean, those issues can happen accidentally, and I don't think there was any attempt in any way to politicize. It was taken down very, very quickly, and these things happen in the course of these things. I think you're overplaying it, quite frankly. Absolutely, his campaign is going well received on the ground and getting a good response, and we're very happy with the response he's getting across the country.
What do you think the Danish government should do about the drone attacks here in this country?
Well, I think the Danish government is handling this very sensibly in our view. Obviously, as I said earlier, the discussions yesterday centred on what is emerging as a very broad pattern of behaviour. And the member states yesterday are in no doubt in terms of the broader issue and the recklessness now being manifested by President Putin in terms of the incursions in other member states that we've had in the last while, and other activities in terms of the shadow fleet, in terms of the bombing of the EU buildings in Kyiv, the British Council building in Kyiv, and other activities that are hybrid attacks that are happening in other member states. So a very clear pattern is emerging, and it's reckless. EU member states want to do the right thing. We want the application of the rule of law. We want an end to the war in Ukraine. Putin is showing no signs that he wants to end that war, despite all the entreaties and despite the Alaska meeting and so on. So the situation is very serious for Europe, and the Russian threat is very serious overall. Continuation of the war is serious. It has implications for society, for people, for economy. And Europe are very clear that we will robustly continue to support Ukraine. But the implications are serious all round.